Well, just played a good football team. They made plays. We did not. I take my hat off to Stephen F. Austin. They came in and played a very good football game, and they deserved to win the game. You got to make plays. They made plays and we didn't. I thought that was the difference in the game. That's a good question, and we've really talked about it and preached it to come out and start fast in the third quarter. We had, and I point the finger at me, I did a bad job of being a third quarter coach, if there's such a thing. I got to do a better job of having a great play. And if we don't do it, I'm either coach or letting it happen. And evidently, I've let it happen as a head coach, and I got to do a better job at halftime than I've done. We were really a good third quarter team early, but I agree with you, Jason. We have not been the last 3 or 4 weeks, really the last 3 weeks. We hadn't. You can't come out and have when you're in a tight game, you can't come out and have a third quarter where you don't match what's happening on the other side. And we didn't do that tonight again. Right. Well, you know what? We had real good field position, what we did. And when you got field position, you got to get points, and you got to sustain drives and you got to score, especially with a team like this where they're a high tempo offense. You're going to throw a lot. You're going to play, 85 to 95 to 100 snaps on defense. You got to generate some offense. You got to score some points. And, we didn't do that. And then in the third quarter, we were not a real good third quarter defense. I thought we played real well in the first half. We had one miscommunication of coverage. Where I thought it would be a scoreless first half. They got that on a busted assignment, a missed assignment there on our end. Other than that, I thought we played about as good as you could play in the first half. When we played good in the fourth quarter, we just, again, let them get that early drive on us. And we got a couple of drives in the third quarter. Then we sat in and played well again. But, no, in a game like this, to win a game, you got to get off the field on defense. And then you got to sustain drives and score points offensively. And if you don't do that, you're not going to win the game. And we didn't do that. We didn't win the game. And that's what happened. So, but, as I always say, that we lost this game in all 3 phases, period. And that's what happened. I didn't coach good enough. We didn't play good enough, and that was the issue tonight. But we're a 5-win team, and there's a fine line of winning a championship and being a 5-win football team. And we're better than a 5-win. We are. And what we have to do is do something about that. It starts with me, and right on down to our coaches, to our players, and it starts the Monday we come back. You come back, you feel sorry, you make all kinds of excuses, and people already try to make me talk about the tough schedule. I ain't going to blame it on the schedule. Yeah, we played a tough schedule, but so what? You got to go play, and you got to go win. You got to do the things to get it done, but we can control that. And it starts Monday in our off season by doing the right things off the field, in the classroom, in off season. Tighten up our belt strap a little bit tighter, and we're real close. We're a team that's real close, and Jason, I like you right now because both you and Randy sitting here agreeing with me. You know it. And there's a fine line. I'm looking at Eric Martin, Hall of Fame receiver sitting right there that played 10 years in the NFL, and he knows it too. I see him shaking his head. So, it's on us. It's on us. I'll point the finger at myself and us. Hey, the only way I know how to do it is hard work. Hard work. We got a bunch of good men. We had 14 seniors that led as good as any leaders I've ever been around. And again, there's a real fine line, guys, in a championship and 500 year. And what we have to do is come back, work hard, and make it happen. Make it happen. And that's what we'll do. And I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. Right. Well, I thought David Gibbs had a great plan. I thought they did a good job. We never really could sustain a drive. You know, we got behind the chains a lot. When you're in second and 15, second and 18, that's tough situations to be in. You know what I'm saying? It is. Third and long is a hard situation to be in this game. And, you know, percentage-wise, you're not going to win them down after down. It looked like to me, you know, I know we gave up a lot of sacks tonight. I think some of that's, you know, till you look at the film, you really don't know. But I think at times we held the ball too long. At times it was protection. It was different issues that caused that. But, you know, really didn't look like to me we really got to set our feet much at all tonight. And that's a compliment. They've done a good job. They lead the country in sacks with 40. And, you know, they proved to be the sack defense that their reputation preceded itself tonight. They showed up, and a lot of it was four-man rush, a lot of it was pressure. But you know, so you know, look, that's on us. We have to be better there. We have to be better there. Right. Well, you know, I agree with you, Jason. You know, when we had our 3-game win streak, we were dominating the turnover battle, and we were getting points off of them, and big plays and getting our offense back on the field. Our offense was protecting the ball. We haven't done that the last 3 weeks. We haven't won the turnover battle. Let me tell you something. This game, you look at that stat, you can throw all the yardage out the window. I don't even look at that no more. You look at third downs, you look at turnover, who wins the turnover ratio, who wins that statistic. I tell you what, you win the rushing battle, you win the turnover battle, you get off the field on third down, throw the rest of the stats out of it. You're going to be a good football team. And we have not did a good enough job in the turnover battle the last 3 weeks, and we have not won. You know, and it looked like that was a difference tonight. I know we had some, and I think we created one. They had 2 or 3. But again, you know, we have not done a great job as a team in the turnover ratio category the last 3 weeks. Well, it's you know we've been banged up there. We came into camp with 17 guys. We were down to 8 at one time. For some reason, we struggled staying healthy at that position. Again, we'll go out and look to sign 4 to 5 guys there, and you know get us some help. When we get some guys that we lost in camp early in the year, we'll get them back. And you know that's a spot that you know we just got to find a way to stay healthy there. And, you know, health sometimes is a hard thing to measure. You know, how to stay healthy. I mean, we've had some freak things happen there, but sometimes it's just out of your hands and you play. But I've been very proud. There's been several young men step up and battle. And one that I'll mention is Bob Stanfield. I mean, he's done a great job. He's a walk-on guy from right here locally. He's battled. He's played the last 3 games. He played 32 snaps against Southeastern. You know, he's a guy that's battled. So you know what? One of our rules around here, we don't sit and whine about what we don't have. We play with who we got because that's the game. It's the game. That's respecting the game. That's part of the game. You play with who you got. You don't sit around bellyache and cry and worry about it. You play, and I think we've done a good job of that. I think our guys have stepped up. There's been some backup guys that have really battled and played and helped us, and I really appreciate them doing that. I'm proud of them.